Man, I am super stoked we were able to land here. This was an epic day, perfect conditions for it, and this is how we were able to make it happen.
Alright, so to start this out, we are taxiing out from the Fly8MA Pilot Lodge. This is not a Stevo Knievo video, so no ATIS, no clearance, none of that fun stuff. And windsock looks like taking off 1-2 should work for us. We're clear all around. Got some sandhill cranes on the runway, but we'll use the other runway. Got a big rock truck on the runway because we're doing some dirt work right now, making a pond so we can have some little kayaks, have a nice little water feature next to the DC-9, shoot some ducks in the fall, grill them up on the wing deck of the DC-9. We've got all our airplane houses totally open now, which is pretty cool. I'm pretty stoked on that. So all 3 airplane houses are done, and we've got students here doing bush pilot training with us and mountain flying, all that fun stuff. All right, mixture's rich. Here we go.
Oil pressure.
Oh, of course, oil pressure's a little high. Voltage's a little high. Man, we just replaced that voltage regulator. Thought that was fixed. And 20 flap should work, and we're up. Ooh, yep, little work to go yet on that pond. Put a 10 flap, letting her accelerate, and we'll go 0. All right, after takeoff checklist, we're set 25 squared. We'll start a nice climb. Might have to do a step climb. It's a little warm today, but this airplane cools itself really well. Nice and big cowling. Really gets a lot of airflow there. Set our EGT is about where we think. We'll actually do the whole fancy menu, engine tools, lean thing here in a little bit once we actually get up to cruise altitude. We're going to take it up all the way to 4,500. So let's go ahead and spin that in. Our goal is to land at the very tip top of sitting up. Never been able to do that with the 170. It's just, man, it's rough, it's short, it's kind of slanted, the clouds, the wind, all that stuff makes it pretty tough. So, hopefully today, if all goes well, we will actually be able to land there. If not, we'll take the lower spot at around 3,000 feet elevation. Still a beautiful view from that spot. But thanks to the Dynon panel and all the fanciness, having all this stuff right here in front of you, hoping to be able to get the airplane slowed down real slow on final there, and actually be able to get down onto that spot with the 170. Been up there with the Rams before. It was on the top of my list for years before the weather finally cooperated, everything finally aligned to actually get the Rams in there. Now it's time to get the 170 in there. Now what's super cool, still climbing here 25 squared, got my fuel flow, all that sort of stuff, and cylinder heads, 390 is my first one that's just peeking into the yellow. Actually go ahead and get rid of, I left that lean tool on, we'll get rid of that guy. Man, I still can't bring myself to pull the plastic off the screen. It's really tough because it's so nice and new still. Really cool that we actually got all our traffic around us showing up on ADS-B in. And then we've also got this little blue lubber line there, which I love. That's going to tell us roughly when we're going to be at 4,500 if we keep climbing at the same rate at 800 feet a minute. So just less than 2 more miles and we'll be at 4,500. I want to get there sooner rather than later. It's going to give me an idea what these clouds are doing. Of course, the clouds could be a little higher near the mountain because a little bit of lift, over the mountain there. But I want to get up there, see what's going on, get this thing leveled out, leaned out, cooling down. 392 on one of the cylinders. We're at 4,000, so I might go ahead and just say, you know what? Let's go ahead and bug 4,000, and we'll do a little step climb today. Just go ahead and throttle back here, like 21 inches to start with. Bring this back to 2,300 RPM. The 21 inches is going to come up a little bit. Yeah, 21 and a half, 22, something like that's totally fine. 2,300, 1,350 or less on the EGTs, that's great. 11 gallons an hour. See if we can dial that back a hair. We'll get this trimmed out for cruise. And we can already see the temps are already coming down. 386 on the hottest one, which was number 2, and it's already coming right on down. We'll go ahead and pull up the lean function on here and start dialing this back to get it leaned out. So I'm going to look for my peaks on my EGTs. Holding altitude, not changing the load or anything, or any of the temperatures on the motor, not changing power settings or RPM. Slowly leaning this out until I get to a peak. It'll tell me when I get there. Right now I'm rich of peak, 59% power. There I can feel that loss. And then I can see the change there. So now I am rich of peak. I'm saving 0.4 gallons an hour. I'm 30 degrees rich of peak, 50 degrees rich of peak, 70 degrees rich of peak, 100 degrees rich of peak there.
Leaving altitude.
I'm gonna be okay with. Yes, I know I'm leaving altitude. Let's go ahead and bug 4,500. That's where we really want to be at. And we're good. 100 degrees rich peak there. 60 rich, 100 degrees rich peak there. Awesome. We'll turn off the lean function, go back to normal. And we can see our hottest one's 1400 on the EGTs. I'm pretty happy with that. We're saving gas. And yeah, back to 9.9 gallons an hour. I'm not hurting my motor. Down at 366 for the warmest CHT at the moment, so that's sweet. We're still on 22.8 for this area. We'll be switching frequencies when we get across the river there. And so coming up here, 4,400, still a good 500 feet or more below the base of these clouds, which is totally cool. So that's going to be good ceiling for us. I would expect the clouds to be the same or slightly higher when we get to the mountain. The mountain where we're landing, if all goes well, 4,500 is our altitude that we're aiming for. So we'll see if we can sneak in there today. Oh, and shout out to Sarasota Aero Club. I'm repping the shirt today. That's the old flight school down in Venice, Florida that I used to actually instruct for back in the day. And they're still running strong. I've got a couple airplanes in their fleet. And yeah, if you guys need any flight training down in the Florida area, Venice, Florida, super cool little airport to train in and out of. But call up Shane down there at Sarasota Aero Club. Get a cool t-shirt. Get a cool airplane to fly. They got the Ranger, Warrior, some other stuff. But really good guys. I think he's got a decathlon now too to do some tail wheel and UPRT training. Pretty neat stuff. And we're about, looks like 8 more minutes to go here, and hopefully we'll be set up to land on the mountain. Some things to talk about before we get there though. Just things and food for thought when you're landing off airport, like what's going through my mind. Well, so I have got this 5-step process, and that 5-step process is first, identify where you want to land. Cool. Next, identify your way out. So if you crash the airplane, land there and then leave the master on, the battery dies, flip the airplane over, whatever it is, if you can't fly out of there the way you intend, the weather craps out, and you have to hike out or go out on foot, what is your way out? What way is civilization, roads, cabins, shelter, caves, whatever it's going to be? Figure that out while you're in the air. Now, this can be done at 1,000 feet, 500, 200, 1,500, whatever it is. It's different for every situation. That's where instruction really comes into play. There's no hard and fast rule to all this off-airport stuff. So, first step, we identify where we're going. Second step, we identify where we're going to go. I just know if I'm going to come off this mountain, I'm going to be walking to the east, and there's some cabins along the river. That's my best chance if I had to walk out of there. It'd be a huge bummer. Hopefully, cell phones do work up there, luckily, so I'll be calling a buddy for a ride rather than actually walking off of there. Next step is going to be our drag pass. Now, drag doesn't mean dragging the tires or rolling them, actually. It just means flying low down the strip or intended landing area. And that typically, we want to do that first with the sun at our back towards lowering terrain and with a headwind. If all those three things align, great. If not, you got to be a pilot and you got to make good decisions. So you got to say, hey, probably flying to lower terrain is really important. Flying with the sun on my back is really important. If you can't do that, then maybe it's not that time of day, or maybe not that day at all, or not that week, or not that month that you can land in that particular area. And then the next thing is preferably with a headwind. Now, if you say, oh boy, you know, I don't want to do this with a 20-knot tailwind and fly over this strip, well, again, maybe just not the day for you to go ahead and be landing there. So pick another day, not a big deal. Come back, try again later. So we are going to go ahead and drag this both ways. I'm probably going to come in because I'm semi-familiar with the area, around 10 to 20 feet AGL. Get down, set up with about half flap, with a little bit extra speed. I'm not near stall speed, I'm not at approach speed or anything like that. I'm still have extra speed in the airplane to be able to, if I get any weird wind gust, burble, whatever, slam some power in there, pull extra flap if I had to, climb out of there. I've got good flying speed, good energy in the airplane. And then, after we drag it both ways, maybe 5 times, maybe 10 times, as many times as it takes for you to know that there's no obstacles, no big dips, no anything, before you start rolling it, the next step is going to be rolling it. Rolling it could be one rolling pass, could be 5 or 10, could be both directions, could be whatever. Depends on the situation. That's where the instruction and doing this with an instructor is so important. And yeah, you can always come up here to Alaska and do it with us in the 170 or the Super Cub or any of our airplanes to get used to it. 172, whatever it is you fly back home. We've got 9 airplanes in our fleet right now.
Altitude.
Yeah, I know I don't hold altitude so good because I'm just trying to get to where I want to be. So anyways, instruction is really key, and there's no replacement for time in the seat and experience and just tens of hundreds of places of landing and tens and hundreds of landings off airport to really be able to structure that and make those decisions in your mind the right way when you're approaching someplace like this. This one's a challenging one, like I said. It's rough, it goes uphill, then levels off, and bumps and big rocks, and it's short, and it's going to be higher density altitude, 4,500 feet. Right now our DA is basically our altitude. So we're at 4,300 at the moment. We're at 4,350 on the DA. That really helps. That's right there on the screen for me. Super nice function. So that gives me an idea of like, hey, this thing's just not going to perform like I'm used to. It's going to be landing faster than I'm used to. It's going to be taking off and using more runway than I want it to, and than what I'm used to. Compared to operating at sea level. Because most of our stuff here in Alaska, believe it or not, is done at sea level. We don't do a lot of high DA stuff. We got cold temperatures, and most of our flat ground is at sea level, and then we got mountains that are super steep and huge, and we're not landing on the top of mountains usually. This is a rare one that at 4,500 we actually can, which is pretty cool, but we're certainly not landing on the top of Denali at 20,000 feet. After we do those rolling passes, and we're all happy with that, the fifth part of the equation is actually a full stop landing. And when we do come in for that full stop landing, we are not going to be rolling it out and being super gentle on the brakes. Not going to be too hard on the brakes because it could be a soft surface. Hopefully we got a good feel for that on the rolling passes, what kind of surface it is. Should have observed it on the drag passes and rolling passes. And I want to be getting the airplane stopped as soon as possible without getting it stuck or flipping over. I don't want to roll any farther because maybe I did miss a bump or a soft spot or a big rock or whatever. I want to go ahead and get the airplane stopped, let it cool down, run a shutdown checklist, shut it down, get out, walk around, and then if I have to taxi or move the airplane, I'll do that at that point. Just a huge bumper to land somewhere and roll out long or be taxiing along and wreck the airplane because you hit a bump, hit a log, hit a stick, and it flipped up into the prop, whatever. When it's like, man, you could have just got out and seen the stick that you didn't see from in the cockpit and moved it before now you went ahead and had a prop strike. So taking that extra few minutes to just, hey, let's shut down, get out, and we can move the airplane later, definitely wise to be patient and really just take your time, not be in a rush. Being in a rush in an airplane is never really a good thing.
Approaching altitude.
Yeah, we're going to just dial that up to a really high altitude to stop getting alerts as we're coming in here trying to focus. And so looking at 60 indicated with an 85 mile an hour, about 70 mile an hour ground speed now. Pretty rough and bumpy in there. This is the spot that I kind of like. Oop, actually rolled it a little bit. That's the spot that I like. Let's get some power in. About 57 was the slowest ground speed I saw there. Try to build some speed, come back around. See how this is gonna work. Boy, there's still snow up here, but it's melting awful quick. And then you can see that a little bit of pink too, which is kind of neat. That pink is actually algae that grows in the snow, and I don't know much about it other than it's kind of funny that algae could grow in something so cold. And you really notice it this time of year as the snow is melting. If anybody does know what that stuff is, definitely leave in the comments something, let me know. Because I'm kind of curious how stuff could actually grow. I mean, the whole point of like putting stuff in the fridge or freezer, right, is to stop that growth. Okay, this away, I definitely have a tailwind because my ground speed is like 80. I'm going super fast. And it's a little bit of a bummer because it kind of means I got to do the downhill landing. So we'll start rolling it. Comfortable enough with that to go ahead and start the rolling passes and just see what we can do. You can see here too, I only got 24.8 inches of manifold pressure at this altitude. Not super stoked about making that turn into the mountain, so I'm going to go ahead and just come away.
Voltage.
I'm watching EGTs because I do have that leaned a little bit.
Voltage.
Coming back on the power now. On the rolling pass, I'd still like to do it with 20 flap. I don't really want to do it with much more than that, just because I want to be able to have the power to go around. And if it's really nasty, I want to be able to snatch the flaps and rip the airplane off the ground too if I need to. Let me go ahead and get her down here. Definitely better ground speed, definitely winds favoring. Go in this direction. Ooh, there's some sink.
Over the runway at 2000 northeast.
I don't know that any of this area, although it's a little free of rocks, it's just a little too rough to be landing in. God, that's a big bump there.
Voltage.
Boy, this is going to be a tough one. Let's come around and try rolling it one more time. We'll make left traffic here. Now, patterns are kind of out the window. You can do a rectangular pattern if you want. We still do something based on that. It's nice to have like that general idea in your mind of what you want to be doing. And certainly sticking with something that's somewhat familiar, like a rectangular pattern, can help. But it certainly is not required at all. I'm not too worried here about like messing with the prop and dialing it back and all that stuff. It's just, I've got more to worry about right now with where I am in relation to this mountain, sink, lift, all that other stuff going on, and keeping my landing area in sight. Luckily, this one's pretty easy, but sometimes when you're on gravel bars and sandbars, they all look the same. It's easy to lose track of that intended landing area. Ah, there is some sink right there. Definitely burbly. These min tire inflation pressures here are about 6 psi on these tires, and I'm wishing I would have let some air out before I came out here, because it's too late to let the air out now. Man. Not even if you can take those bumps, it's that you don't want them because they'll put you back in the air, and then you're in the air coasting, burning up runway, and not on the brakes at all. So let's try one more time. I'm going to see if I can get my ground speed slow enough to where I'm comfortable to actually set it down. I hate the idea of having to get this airplane stopped while going downhill. But the uphill landing is not going to work with that, you know, probably 10 mile an hour worth of wind. Also wouldn't have hurt to be not full fuel today. I'm gonna go 30 flap on this one. Just get her a little slower. Don't hesitate to get that power in there. If you think you need it, you need it. If you think you might need it, you need it. I'd always rather be high and have to make another lap around than wind up low on energy and get slammed into the ground here. Man, that wind just does not help there. 60 on the ground speed, not fun. I think if I do it that way and kind of bounce, 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 I should be able to. On that last bounce, I saw a ground speed of 45.
Voltage.
And so if I can dump some energy at first, I think that'll work. I kind of do have to do it that way. I don't think coming down, even in a full stall late on the strip, even if I hit that spot, I just don't think I'll be as slow as I want to. But I'm going to first try for that rather than doing a bounce, bounce, bounce landing. Sometimes on those bounces you can dump energy, but like, boy, that's risky because you just got nothing left to really control the airplane. You're running out of aileron, running out of elevator, and you're a little bit at the mercy of the terrain more than, you know, the actual control of the inputs that you're doing. A little bit more at the mercy of the wind too. It's just not really that worth it to land here to be banging up an airplane. See if I can get a little more stable too and get some sink out of it. I should be able to get my angle of attack working here on this dynon screen. That really helps hearing that angle of attack go. Ended up a little high here. Probably too high to make this one a full stop, although I'm coming down good. I like it. There's the stall. Cool. And I got her. Get rid of the flaps, a little bit of brakes.
Voltage.
And there we are. Alrighty. Not a huge fan of that, but stop just before the big rocks. So time to go ahead and shut down, get out, enjoy it for a moment, and we're going to pace this up before we spin it around and back taxi to get out of here, because we're here, the airplane's intact, no point in trying to taxi this thing around and break a tail wheel or something on a big rock or damage the plane. So shutdown checklist.
That landing might have been a little forced, a little more forced than I would have liked. Wasn't forced in the end. I mean, it all worked out, but definitely a little more rushed than it should be. Bottom line is you're making all those computations in your mind 10, 20 times a second, 50 times a second. Am I good? Am I good? Am I good? Am I good? Is my sink rate, my airspeed, my overall energy in the aircraft, angle of attack, winds, everything, you know, drift, sideways, left and right, everything, is it all lined up? And if it is, you continue. And making those really split-second decisions that if it's not, you slam in a bunch of power and go around, start building energy back into that airplane. So that worked out. Not a whole lot of extra room to go, but again, wasn't trying to flip the airplane. I hate landing downhill, especially on this grade. It doesn't look like much, but it's probably about like 5% or so, maybe 6%, and so it's a little much for me, like 6% going downhill. But that wind does make a difference there and did make it worth it. So we're gonna walk backwards now and see where we want to actually taxi back to, if there's any big stuff to watch out for. There's definitely some loose stuff. Nothing tail wheel removing that I can see at the moment, but it doesn't take much to remove a tail wheel from an airplane. If you're going fast enough, you know, maybe 6-8 inches of rock is probably gonna be plenty, depending on how firmly in the ground it's planted. So I'd say we're gonna get a couple hundred feet back taxi right now, just over 100 feet away from the airplane. You can pace it out in your mind. Usually your steps are about 3 feet or a little less, 2.5. For me, if I get 110, 120 steps, I usually consider that to be about 300 feet. And that should be good enough based on the wind. But really, I hate when people use feet to measure takeoff and landing areas for this sort of stuff. It should really be measured in seconds that you're flying over it. And then of course, wind does change, but that really takes the wind into account. So probably gonna back taxi all the way to this big dip. It doesn't look like much, but this is about 2 to 3 feet lower than the surrounding terrain, and enough to really make it not super fun. The wind has shifted to where it's more of a crosswind right now than a headwind, which kind of sucks for takeoff. But I'll get back here. This is another like 18-inch dip that it's just a little much to really take the airplane through. I might be able to, if I spin around, I don't like the look of it, get a little further back here, but it gets pretty rough pretty quick. Luckily, somebody was kind enough to leave a shovel, so if we feel really motivated, we could try to make the runway a little smoother, but I don't feel that motivated right now. So we're gonna go ahead and back taxi. I got my area marked out. I know I wanna come back to about where this shovel is, makes it pretty easy. Otherwise, I'd maybe kick the grass or have some sort of other marker as to where I wanna come back to. And we'll get the cylinders nice and warm, 300 degrees or better for good power making to get us out of here. And I wish I had a string of yarn on this wing, just kind of watch when I get a nice big gust. But I can try to watch the grass and some of these flowers on the side here, and if I see a good gust building, I'll go ahead and slam in the power, release the brakes and get going, try to take advantage of that gust to get airborne, and then build speed and ground effect over top of the rocks rather than in them.
Alright, little S-turns here. Using all this power to go uphill though is a good chance for these cylinders to get nice and warm. Well, I'm back taxiing here just to make sure there's air up in that prop hub. Just get one little cycle. Still trying to make that tail light, but it's not that light of a tail on this airplane. Alright, we're actually going to use this dip. Not too bad of a dip. It's smooth enough. It's a big elevation change, but smooth enough that I can go through it at 3 or 4 miles an hour, and then I've got 3 or 4 miles an hour already when I am going. I mean, every little bit of inertia that you can build in the airplane helps. Got 10 flaps set for the takeoff roll. I'll probably pull flaps to help get us out of here, but at least we can start with the 10 flap. Make sure my seat's fully locked in. Don't want that going slide back on this takeoff roll. That'd be a bad day. Cool, and I'm coming up to 300 on the cylinders. I got one that's still near 250. So it's yellow for me until it gets above 250. That's kind of handy. And then for best power, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set not full power here. I'm going to go ahead and try to set about 2,000 RPM. And I just want to see, okay, so there's like 2060 RPM, 2070, 2080, 2090. As I'm leaning, I'm gaining RPM. I just want to see where max is. There's 2150, 2160. And I start to lose it there. So right about there, I'm feeling like it's probably gonna be my best power for takeoff. If I go full rich, I go from 2150 all the way down to like 2050. So yeah, right in that range. And just a hair rich of my peak at there. I mean, otherwise you could just go full power and lean it for peak, but off airport, sucking up gravel and rocks, not really the best plan. So there's 10 flap. And mixture set, everything's set. We're as good as we're gonna get, so don't really need a radio call coming out of here, no other traffic. And we'll make some radio calls once we get in the air. Let's go ahead, get that tail up and get going. We'll use a little nose down trim to help me with that tail wheel. Go through this first dip nice and slow, get the RPM build, and here we go, full power. Get that tail up. There's the end of the runway, and give it all the flaps. No point yanking it off the ground early. It wasn't too rough until we actually hit those rocks. So just leave it on the ground until you're about to hit the rocks and then pull the flap and hope for the best. That's what we did. Gonna richen up a little bit there. And we'll retract those flaps, coming off full power. We'll come right back to 20 inches because we're gonna start a nice slow, long descent on back down to the Pilot Lodge. Man, I'm super stoked that we were able to land there. That is awesome. I'm glad to be able to get the 170 into that spot. It's not an easy spot, even for a Cub or the Rans, but for the 170, definitely not easy. Weather worked out today. The angle of attack on the 9-on really makes a huge difference. Having all that information right in front of my face definitely makes it a lot easier to get the airplane, slow down, get the energy out of it to be able to do something like that. So if you guys want to do this kind of flying with us, definitely check out the links below. We got our free private pilot ground school actually all updated just recently. So if you guys want to go ahead and log into that and check that out, if you're thinking about getting your pilot license, starting out with the free ground school would be a great way to see if it's actually something you're into. Let's go ahead and dial up our home here. And that will let you actually get all the way through the full course. If you want to get the endorsement, check ride prep and all that other stuff, we've got paid courses online on our website. And of course, we have all those other online courses for instrument, commercial, CFI, tailwheel, seaplane, all that stuff. And if you guys want to do this kind of flying with us here in Alaska, the link is in the description below for that as well, or give us a call. We've got bush pilot courses, mountain flying courses, seaplane, ski flying, tailwheel, all sorts of stuff right from the Pilot Lodge. You can stay in one of the airplane houses, which is pretty darn cool, or in one of the cabins alongside the runway. And as always, guys, if you cannot fly every day, then fly8MyCalf.com. We will see you guys in the next one.